Now, it is an honor and privilege to serve you, as I always say. On the show, we talk love and relationship. And I'm so excited today because I am not alone in the studio. I've got a beautiful guest that I'm going to interview on Zoom right away. And I'm excited. She's about to share her story. And I believe that her story is life-changing. So please, our beautiful listeners, do not go anywhere. Our beautiful guest, thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to please introduce yourself, as it is the culture at Talitha Cumi where we actually allow the guests to just introduce themselves. Can you please go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hi, my name is Leslie Enwe. Ooh.
Hi, Leslie Ann. Yes, you can continue. We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Leslie Enwe. I'm from Midrand. And I believe that I have a life-changing story, and that where I'm coming from, I know that there's a lot of ladies that still there where I'm coming from, and I hope that my story will make a difference in one of the ladies out there's lives.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Listeners, as you've heard, we've got our beautiful, lovely guest, which we are interviewing on Zoom today, Leslie Ann Ware. Am I saying your surname correctly?
No, it's Ware.
Ware. Thank you so much, Leslie Ann.
Like German.
My apologies. My apologies. I'm just going to say
okay.
Leslie Ann because I don't want to say your surname incorrect. I don't want to pronounce it incorrectly.
Yes.
Leslie Ann, I'm going to ask you, thank you so much. First of all, Talitha Cumi would like to thank you for this interview, for allowing us to interview you. And I believe that your story will be life-changing today. So first of all, you have already given us a background. You say that you're from Midrand and you've got a story to tell. Can you just go ahead and please tell us your story so that we can hear what you've got to share with us?
Okay. So at the age of 11, I was molested by two guys that completely changed my life. I started drinking at the age of 12, started smoking weed at the age of 13. I basically lived a very rebellious teenage life, and my family didn't know what was going on. They were wondering why the outbreaks and everything. And for 15 years, I kept it from them until I went to hardcore drugs. This has caused me to end up in a lot of relationships that toxic relationships that left me empty, broken. And most of all, it left me, I wouldn't say I hated myself, but I had a low self-esteem, and it caused me to neglect my children. By then, I had two sons. That was at the age of 27, and my kids didn't know me. I was basically their sister than their mother. I was extremely abusive towards them, and my soul was carrying so many wounds because of these toxic relationships. I remember at the age of 26, I was in a relationship with a guy, and this guy would rape me each and every night. And I wasn't sexually attracted to him, but what ended me up in the relationship was the drugs, because that is what we had in common. And because of the rebellious person I was, when I would be that person, when I was in a relationship, I would want to live with that guy. And by then I didn't understand the soul ties that relationships comes with. And obviously, like I said, my children suffered the most. I ended up staying with this guy. My kids, I was horrible towards my kids. Sometimes I would come home high, and then I would want to steal them away from my parents to spend time with them. But my family did not want me to have any contact with them because of the situation. And later on, I think it was after 3-4 months of being with that guy, I knew that, you know what, if I'm going to continue staying in this relationship with him raping me every night, I am going to eventually hurt myself, because I had a background of suicide, you know. I tried to commit suicide like 5 times in my life. And I knew that I was on my way to doing it again, because I fell into depression. I fell into I started having panic attacks, and that was all due to bipolar that I also never knew that I had. So everything that these relationships done to me just made the bipolar worse, because then I was looking for a relief in drugs and alcohol. And the worst part about it was, you know, I always tell people that, you know, you have a tendency of sleeping around when you have bipolar, because when the episode starts, it's either you're going to start using drugs it's drugs nonstop for, let's say, 2 months, and then it's alcohol nonstop for 2 months, and then it's sleeping around nonstop. So my weakness was the sleeping around. And if the episode passed, I would be so drained and tired from all these men that had me. And I would say it really left me wounded. It left me with a soul that was so badly wounded that I could not identify myself anymore, and I didn't know how to use my mindset proper anymore. So it actually broke me in, you know, to a point where I wouldn't look at myself in the mirror, because I had such a low self-esteem, and I hated myself so much that each and every time I looked at myself in the mirror, I was reminded of everything that these people has left me with.
Shoo, yeah, Leslie, and it seems like you went through a lot. You mentioned that you were raped when you were about 11 years old by 2 guys.
Yes.
Was this family members? Was it people that you were close to? And did you actually share, or did you tell anybody about the situation, or how did it go?
After I was raped, I never told anyone. I remember that day I came home and I was still wearing school uniform. It was around about past 6 in the evening. And I came home with the hope that my mom would see that something is wrong, you know, because, you know, we expect our mothers to know us better than anyone else. So I was hoping that she would see. And because she didn't see that day, I decided that, you know what, I'm just going to live with this and bury it so deep that I wouldn't find it again. And unfortunately, every day of my life was like horrible, because no matter how I ran away from it, it would visit me in my dreams. So I would never have spoken about it if my late sister didn't get a dream that I was molested. And that is how the family found out that
when was
there
this
is
now?
something wrong here. That was at the age of 25.
25. So you actually kept that a secret from the age of 11 until the age of 25.
Yes.
And you were never going to say anything about it, unless it was the only reason you actually told them about it is because your sister had a vision or a dream about it, your late sister.
Yes.
Sure. And how did your family react to it, for you keeping the secret so long, and the fact that was it people that they knew?
Yes, it was people that they know. And what hurt my family the most was one of the guys that did this was my brother-in-law's cousin. So my brother-in-law it finished him, you know, it broke him to pieces. And he, after I told them, I remember him saying to me, how will I ever look at that guy again, not thinking about what he did to you? And that same night when we came to my parents and we had to tell my parents what happened, I remember my mom could say nothing. She was just crying because I told her that day I was hoping that you would see that there's something wrong, that your daughter something is happening to her. My dad was you know, my dad is like the calmest person I've ever known. He is my pearl of strength, my everything. He's my role model. I believe he's the wisest man I've ever known. I remember that night he was so calm, and if it wasn't for his calmness, he was going to do something that night to that guy. And I remember him saying that, you know what, I wish you never told me, because right now I feel like climbing in my car and going to kill that guy for what he's done to you. And by God's grace, we as a family decided to forgive them and just let it go. And even though we as a family decided, but I still held on to it out that day after and months after, you know, until God personally spoke to me and said to me, you know what, let it go. It's time to let it go. Otherwise, you will never be who I want you to be, you know.
Sure, Leslie Ann. Yes, continue.
And because I didn't know how to love. I loved wrong. That's what it did to me. So I knew that I needed to let go. Otherwise, I will bleed on everyone that didn't cut me. And I didn't know, because I already didn't know how to love anyone else around me. How was I ever going to love myself? How will I ever accept who I am, you know? And because I'm a woman of many gifts, thanks God. So I knew that, you know what, with the gifts that God has gave me, how will I ever be able to love the gifts with the pain that I'm carrying?
Sure. Yeah, Leslie Ann, beautiful listeners, this is Leslie Ann on the line. She's sharing a very touchy story with us. She's sharing her life, and it is so sad to hear. But we are so grateful that God has turned all that around for her. So you can please comment and just share with you what you've got. Share with us what you've got to say to Leslie Ann. But Leslie Ann, I want to say to you today that I do not know what was your reason why you decided to keep quiet of this. Was it because you were afraid that nobody was going to believe you, or what was your reason? Why did you keep this for so long? And why did you decide? Why did you expect your mother instead to see it instead of you to tell her what was happening? What was your reason? Can you just share with our listeners that?
Like I felt ashamed. I felt like everyone was going to blame me, because I remembered my school skirt was very short. So I had that thing in mind that what I wear that day is what made them do that. For the next 15 years after that, I every day of my life told myself that if I didn't wear that skirt, that would not have happened. Sure. Because I didn't understand then that, you know what, even if a woman walks naked, it does not give the man the right to do anything to her, to put any harm on her, you know?
Yes, no, I totally and completely agree with you there. And it's just a pity because you were young and you were so innocent, and this innocence was taken away from you. They actually robbed you from your innocence. And it's always the case when people are being molested, or you always feel like you are the one to be blamed. Just like you said, you were wearing a short skirt, but no matter what you're wearing, it doesn't give anybody the right to rape you or to molest you or to do anything that is not that is unkind to you. Leslie Ann, thank you so much for sharing that sensitive story with us. And as I can hear, it's you saying that it actually ruined your relationship with your children. It allowed you not to be a good parent to them, and it actually happened that you were unable to be there as a mother, but you were more like a sister to them. And you were also robbed of the opportunity. You said there were times when you were high and you would actually go and try to steal your kids just to spend time with them. My question to you today will be, after you went through all this and you've given, do you feel that like you've completely forgiven the people that did this to you? Have you completely forgiven them?
It was hard, but I did, because, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it was hard, but I've come to learn that if you don't forgive, you're only doing more damage to yourself. The unforgiveness that I had caused me to fall ill, literally, you know. So I used to suffer of headaches, you know. I used to suffer of a lot of physical illnesses, only to find out in the end that all of these came from unforgiveness. And once I've let go, that's when I became, that's when I healed. Until this day, you know what? It's a living testimony.
It
I'm a
is.
living testimony
You
of
are.
unforgiveness, the bitterness that it comes with. So I can
Wow.
only thank God. I can only thank God, and I can only give him the praise, because all of me, the person that you see today, it is not through my own ability. It is only God.
Which is true, because what you went through, and I've listened to your story, it's very touchy, and it takes a strong woman to stand up from a situation like that. It takes a strong woman to actually wanna talk and share her story with the world out there. But we are glad, and we are really honored that you're able to share with us your story today. Leslie Ann, I wanna hear from you. How would you say that all this that has happened to you contributed to your life, and how are you helping others with what you went through? How do you help others with what you went through? What are you doing
Okay,
now?
so right now, what I'm doing, I'm focusing more on my business, my beautician business, but my ministry is in youth, you know, helping youth,
Yes,
helping young women rebuild themselves.
Oh,
Like when I send my bio, I put there that once you know, the power of confession, it's so important, because everything you speak comes to existence. You know, I remember in my marriage, you know, I used to say a lot of things about my husband, and it came to existence. All those negative things that I've
spoken to him.
It came to the existence. Yeah, and to control your mouth, you know. I remember Joyce Meyer saying that you know, the 3 M's: your mind, your mouth, and your mind, your mouth, and your mood. But when it comes to the mouth, because remember that the Bible says your tongue is coming, the swearing and the cursing out. So
Yes.
the place that I'm from, our teenagers are going through a lot of things that I went through, you know. And that's where I'm trying to make a difference, that, you know what, you don't have to go through this at this age, if you just make a different decision, you know. Yes.
Wow. Leslie Ann, thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear that you are motivating people in your community. You are working with young girls, and it's actually that your mess has become a message, and that is what God is good in doing. He always takes our mess and he turns it into a message. And I like what you said. You said that there is power in the tongue. What we speak come to into existence. I actually mentioned this in my book that I've written, that it was also the words that I spoken into my husband's life that made him the husband that he became. I spoke a lot of negative words, and he acted out negatives. The words that I said actually built his life and actually put him in the place that he was at that time. So it is true. We need to start speaking positive words to ourselves also, and to other people. But I'm so glad that God is using you in a powerful way, as I can hear that you are helping in your community. And before we close, I just want to ask you, what would you say to someone who's listening now out there? Because it might not be 11-year-old, but it might be an 18-year-old, it might be a 20-year-old, or a 30-year-old who has been raped. And they also feel like they were to be blamed, and they don't want to talk about it. What would you say to them? Is it good for them to keep it, or would they rather speak out? What would you say to them?
I would advise any woman out there that to speak out, because it is not your fault. It is not your fault what happened to you, and you cannot control what is in a man's mind. What I would like, to tell any woman out there that this has happened to is that it's not the end of your life, and that maybe, sometimes God let some things happen to you. If God could let Job lose everything, who are we? Remember that in the Bible, God gives the devil the right to do with us whatever he wants, but he says that he cannot have our lives, he cannot kill us. So maybe God lets it happen for you to become the stronger person that you will be tomorrow, because your story might change that little girl's life. Your story might help that little girl not to live with the shame and the guilt for the rest of her life. And that little girl might feel like, what, this has happened to me also. So if this lady, this woman is looking so good, feeling so great, and not, she's free, like in her heart, I can also be that free. I can also be free and not feel guilty and ashamed of myself.
Wow. Very true, Leslie. And if I look at you today, you don't look like a woman that went through so much. You don't look like a teenager that went through so much. I can just see the grace of God upon your life. You are a beautiful young woman. And my prayer to you is that may God continue to bless you. May He continue to use you to change lives. And before you go, just bless us maybe with just a word out there. What would you say to anybody who feels depressed and tired of life, and the burdens that they feel currently, whatever they might be going through? What would you say to them before you go?
I'd like to say to them that, what, in life, you don't quit. The only time you quit is when you're dead.
Wow. Wow.
There is
a powerful statement.
There is not a mountain too big that you cannot overcome.
Wow.
Each and every time when you feel so depressed and so like the world is just done on you, just remind yourself that there's people out there that's going through much, much worse. And they are holding on.
Very true.
So
like yourself. Like yourself.
Yes.
Thank you so much for allowing us here at Talitha Cumi to interview. It was so nice. Your story is amazing. May you continue to go out and share your story with the world. And I believe it will not be your last time. In future, we'd like to interview you again. I think it would be nice to interview you again, Leslie Ann. But thank you so much for honoring this appointment. And may God continue to bless you. And we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Before we close off, I'd just like to tell everyone out there that I am writing a book about my life. It's called Saved by a Heartbreak.
Wow.
And I hope that everyone will get an opportunity to read it someday.
Yeah, I believe so. Well done, Leslie. And thank you so much for sharing that as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have yourself a lovely day. God bless.
Same to you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, beautiful listeners. That was Leslie Ann Ware from Midrand, Robbie Ridge, and she has shared a beautiful story. Can you please continue just to comment? And if you just want to say something to her, or you can also share your story with us in the. You can also comment and let us know if you have a story to share. But you've heard she said you don't quit unless you are dead. And because we talk love on the show, she's a true reflection of forgiveness, because forgiveness goes with love. And what happened to her wasn't easy, but she was able to forgive. So if you're out there listening and you went through the same thing, I want to ask you to reach out to God and allow Him to work in your heart so that you will be able to set yourself free from the burden of unforgiveness. Thank you, beautiful listeners, for listening. And thank you for always tuning in. We really appreciate you here at Talitha Cumi, and we love you. We'll talk again next week. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.